Tottenham have got off to an amazing start in the Premier League, and it's all thanks to their manager, Ange Postecoglou. Or is it? They've made a flawless start, but is it really down to the way Tottenham have played? Or should we actually be looking at how other teams have set up against them? Well, to get to the bottom of this, we first have to take a look at Manchester City's summer recruitment. They made 4 major signings in the summer. They signed Josko Vardio, who is a left-sided centre-back. They signed Jeremy Doku, who has already played against West Ham United, looked great. And they also quite curiously signed Matheus Nunes and Mateo Kovacic. Now, the one thing all of these players have in common is something that Pep's assistant Juan Malido says: they are all very good ball carriers. Josko Vardio, he's a left-sided centre-back, very good ball carrier at Leipzig from these areas. Jeremy Doku at Rennes, he was extremely good on both wings at beating his man. But 2 players to focus on here are Kovacic and Nunes. In front of me I have some stats from FBref here that compares Matheus Nunes and Mateo Kovacic with their successful take-ons per 90 against midfielders in the Premier League and across Europe's big 5 leagues. As you can see quite clearly, Nunes is in one of the highest percentiles for this statistic. We also have progressive carries here, which is carrying the ball forward, not necessarily taking it round someone. Both Nunes and Kovacic, again, in the highest percentiles for this statistic too. So we have 2 players who are very good at ball carrying, and Matheus Nunes' performance against Manchester United when he was still with Wolves on matchday 1 of the season shows what you can do with such good dribblers. In front of me here we have a situation from this game where Matheus Nunes has just gained possession for Wolves and Manchester United are about to engage in a counter press. We have these 4 players all closing in on the ball carrier. We've got limited options. This Wolves player, for example, is about to get closed down by another Manchester United player coming in, and we've also got Bruno Fernandes and Rashford. They're about to cross over here as well. But this situation isn't going to bother Matheus Nunes because he's going to take the ball inside, he's going to evade the tackles and pressure, and in a matter of 3 seconds we have Nunes carrying the ball forward into wild empty space. From him beating the press, he's taken apart Manchester United's structure. They're now having to collapse back, and it's an attacking situation for Wolves. The question we now have to ask then is why Pep wanted a player who can do this. Well, there's no one better placed in football to see what tactical trends, what eras are coming up on the horizon. So what does Manchester City signing a bunch of high volume, high quality ball carriers say about current tactics in the Premier League? And what has it got to do with Tottenham? Well, the answer to both of those questions lies in the data. In front of me we have a data viz from the 2021 season. It's showing PPDA in the Premier League. PPDA is passes per defensive action. The lower the number is, the more intense the press is. But you likely already know that. You watch Tifo, you're smart. But what you might not know is just how much more intense those presses have become. Newcastle were at the bottom here. They're the most passive side in the Premier League. Arsenal in this season weren't particularly aggressive either, and neither were Brighton as well. But if you fast forward to this season, well, you can see Newcastle have shot right up, Arsenal have shot right up, and Brighton have shot all the way to 2nd spot. The average across the league has also decreased in this time too, and it's worth mentioning that teams from last season, Leicester and Southampton, they were relegated and they've been replaced by Luton and Burnley, 2 teams who also want to press high and win the ball back high up the pitch. And the crucial point to make here to really see why Spurs are doing so well this season is to understand why these teams are pressing high and trying to win the ball back high up the pitch. On the board in front of me here, we have generic blue team looking to play the ball out, and we've got generic yellow opposition team looking to press high and win the ball back. Now, there's 2 areas our yellow team are going to try and focus on to win the ball back. The first being the number 6 position. The 6th position is here. Here's our blue pivot player, because if the ball is able to go to him, he's able to move it on, then blue team have a straight home run to the opposition goal right through the center of the pitch. So our yellow team, or opposition team, they can't allow that. And what they're going to do, they're going to press this number 6 player, because they're also aware he has his back to the pitch when he's receiving the ball. He can't see what's going on around here. So if they go tight to him, he is more likely to receive the ball and play it back to a centre back. That's a really good chance for our yellow team to jump, to go man to man, to close off these options, which means this guy's either going to have to play quite a risky pass forward or just clear it. And the end result is usually the yellow team wins the ball back. Now, the second trigger to talk about here is when the pass goes out to the fullback. After all, if you can't go through the middle of the yellow team, well, you can try and go around them and pass it out wide. However, this is another trigger for our yellow team to press, because if this player receives the ball, well, he can't pass out here, that's a throw-in. He's going to have to pass either straight or back inside. He's got limited passing angles. So our yellow team are going to take that chance to press high. They're going to go man to man. They're going to limit his few options and either force him to do pass back inside to his centre back, or force the player to go long and lose the ball, or even forcing to try and take on these players in like a 1v1, maybe a 1v2, and he's likely going to lose it in this situation. Now, these situations are key for winning the ball back. These movements are really effective at forcing our blue team to give away the ball. Well, effective against everyone except Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur, due to the way they set up under him, but also the players he has at his disposal. If you've watched Tottenham at any point this season, even for 5 or 10 minutes, you've probably seen them set up in possession in this 2-3-5 shape. Now, before the season kicked off, many people thought Tottenham would struggle in this setup for a couple of reasons. First of all, Ange Postecoglou's teams, they've generally taken a couple of months to get used to his ideas, but the second point was more to do with the players that Tottenham had at their disposal. In players such as Pedro Porro or Emerson Royal, who can also play in this right back role, Yves Bissouma and Destiny Udogie, these are players who are very good at carrying the ball forward, but not necessarily at passing out, and it was feared if they're put under pressure in build-up, they might not be able to get Tottenham from here to here. There's no better, no more extreme example of this than Destiny Udogie. If you look at his Smarter Scout chart from last season, carry and dribble volume, amazing. Progressive passing, less so. But that has worked perfectly for Tottenham Hotspur because they're not trying to pass out from the back. They're trying to carry the ball through the triggers we just spoke about. As we said, Premier League teams who are pressing high, they're focusing on the 6 positions where Bissouma plays and the fullback positions where Porro/Royal plays and Destiny Udogie plays. Let's first focus on what happens when Bissouma receives the ball in this 6th area, because this is a good chance, right, for the opposition to jump, to force him to pass backwards and win the ball back. However, Bissouma has a couple of qualities that make this really difficult. First of all, he's very good at scanning, he's good at looking over his shoulder, building a picture of what's happening behind him on the pitch, which means he's less flustered when he receives the ball. He's also got a good burst of acceleration, which makes him really good on the half turn. So what that looks like is when he receives the ball, his first inclination isn't to pass backwards, it's to try and round his man on the half turn, something he's very good at, which means if he can come away in this situation, he has a big load of open space to carry the ball forward. So if Bissouma is so press resistant, why don't opposition teams focus on pressing the fullbacks instead? Well, the trouble is that Destiny Udogie, Pedro Porro and Emerson Royal, these are also players who are good at beating the press by carrying the ball through it. Let's say Udogie receives the ball, the blue team thinks great, another chance, let's try and close in, let's go man to man, let's force him into a 1v1 or a 2v1. However, Udogie is someone who's also very good at dribbling because he's very agile, he's got a very good burst of speed, and he relishes these situations, taking players on. So in these situations, he's happy to take his man on, sometimes even 2 men on, and come away with the ball and exploit all of this space. And this is where the problem lies for these Premier League teams facing Tottenham. If you've just committed so high, you've gone man to man to try and win the ball, and Tottenham are able to come through it, well, it means you have to quickly reset your structure to get back towards your goal, all giving time for Tottenham to go towards it and start creating chances. Now, progressing the ball forward might be more of a problem for Tottenham Hotspur if Premier League teams were actually sitting deep against them, if they're defending zonally and they were closing these spaces between the lines. That's because in these situations, players like Udogie, they have only got so much room to carry the ball forward into. If they're going to go into here, he's likely going to lose it, which forces players like Udogie, players like Bissouma to try and break the lines through their passing rather than their ball carrying. But as we've just said, Premier League teams aren't doing this. They're committing their players forward, they're looking to press high and win the ball back in areas they might be able to create chances. And this is perfect for Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham Hotspur because it lets their players play to their strengths. So, is Ange Postecoglou really the biggest reason behind Tottenham's success? Well, yes. He's given the players a base to perform both on and off the pitch. Clearly, everyone is right behind his ideas. However, he's maybe a little fortunate he's come into the Premier League at a time when there's a few external factors that are boosting Tottenham's success.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.